And welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
I'm Chad McCanna.
And we should be on crystal meth because we have a lot of game to cover today.
Holy shit. Yeah, we spent the last two episodes of our three-part Donkey Kong Country 2 Spotlight focusing on the reactions that we had surrounding the game's release, the lore of the game, the characters, the enemies, the world that it built. And we saved the last third of the overarching spotlight to actually talk about the game itself.
Which, to be fair, we should have given ourselves more than 3 episodes. This should have been a season-long spotlight.
So your solution isn't to discipline your discourse; it's to extend it forever.
No, this should have been a one arc all season long. Our trial of a Time Lord, if you will. That's for all of you Colin Baker fans.
Oh, what has happened to you, Hyle?
Matt Corna and the rest of our Doctor Who love and DK Vine contingent. They assimilated me. No, that's Star Trek. Shit.
I hit a wall with Nick Frost as Santa Claus, and I'm having a really hard time breaking through it.
Get past that episode, because season 9 is the best fucking season. Like, oh,
that's what I hear. That's what I hear. But let's not pull a log cast and spend half our episode talking about Doctor Who. Zing!
Burn, say. Burn.
No. Say and David Jones are doing a great show. Check them out. Rare and Friends Logcast. We should do a little bit of due diligence at the top of the show because we've been neglecting it. The main thing I want to mention is that we have a Patreon. If you enjoy the show, consider donating to the Patreon. Most of the very low tier rewards, I'm talking $2, $5, they get you Kongversation based bonuses. At the $2 tier, you get access to the episodes on YouTube and SoundCloud a day early. We call that the Early Bird Special because we're all elderly people who live in the past.
We like eating at Denny's.
Yes. And if you want to further your Grand Slam up to $5, you can, or your Denver Scramble for that matter, you can actually listen to the podcasts live.
Wow.
We are streaming it every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. On Twitch, and it's a super secret link for $5 and up donors only, but we would love to have you. There's a chat room that's going on right now, actually. We've got a couple donors in there, and it's a great little community. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we hope to continue it on with your blessing and money. Give us your money.
Yes, that would really send my moon over my hammy.
I was really going to end it on with your blessing, but then I realized that gets us nowhere.
No. We people are here for the Denny's puns. It's America's Diner.
Right. With do you have any other due diligence that we ought to discuss before diving right into this game?
Yeah, real quick, we've got to give some major props to our own Cameron Regal and Matt Corna. If you go to dkvine.com, you will see we have regenerated, much like Colin Baker regenerated into Sylvester McCoy, following Trial of a Time Lord. And
you're just reading a wiki article, aren't you?
This is how I spend my free time, yeah. No, we now have our Donkey Kong Country 2 anniversary design. Went up late December 5th, which is what we alone acknowledge as the anniversary. And it's oh my god, it's so fantastic. They really just outdid themselves. And we say that each time they do something, but it's true. They get better and better. Yeah. Nobody does it better, and that's James Bond, not Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm consistently impressed with Cameron's artistry and Matt's ability to work within the constraints of the horrible website that I coded ages ago and actually make something workable.
I don't know. Matt is seriously the rare of our what we give him to work with. He can break it and make it work far beyond what it should have been capable of.
You know what's so frustrating about Matt? And this is not
he's good at everything.
He's jack of all trades, master of all trades.
Yeah.
It's infuriating.
It really pisses me off so much. So it's giving me an incentive to get better at everything I do. So, but at the same time, I really want to murder him in his sleep. But thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Matt. The site is just so fantastic. Cameron's art, oh my god,
It's amazing.
It's just so much. It brings so much joy. It invokes the spirit of Donkey Kong Country 2 as I'm looking at it. But why look at it when we can play it? Why play it when we can talk about it?
And that's what this show is all about. We wouldn't want to play the games. No, for actual playing of the games, check out my Twitch channel, dkvine.com. I am involuntarily twitching Sunday mornings at 10:30 Eastern time.
You should have consulted a doctor first.
Wait, consulted a doctor? Is there a wiki article about that?
Because you're involuntarily twitching.
Oh, I thought a different kind of doctor.
No, Peter Capaldi could really help you out, though.
So, I'm basically for an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning. I'm currently streaming Banjo-Kazooie. Subscribe to us on Twitch at dkvine.com/twitch or twitch.tv/dkvine. Yeah. And I'll see you at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time.
I thought you were going to say I'll see you in hell, but to see me in hell, we're gonna need about $350 more for the Patreon, so I can launch the slush fund Twitch.
Yeah, I don't. Hey, don't project your issues with gaming onto me. I'm enjoying myself. Perhaps it's going to be hell for you, considering what you're playing.
We need the yin. We need the yang with the yin. You know what I mean? We need to have both sides, white and black. Ebony and Ivory. I don't know.
Right. Yes. We need to be as subtle as the themes in Lost.
That's right. Yes. And just like the keys on my piano. So anyway, why don't we talk about the game, Chad? Why don't we talk about Donkey Kong Country 2? Why don't we talk about the levels and the worlds? Yeah.
So one of the great things about Donkey Kong Country 2, and it was in places it was in the first game, but they really the designers, especially Greg Mayles, who's the lead designer, took it
Western Miyamoto is what I call Greg Mayles.
I won't argue with that. He took it to its fore in this game, is that each level has... We decided to not use the term gimmick last week, didn't we? We called them features. But
there's nothing wrong with it being a gimmick in and of itself. It has a bad reputation, but gimmicks can be good. I mean...
Right.
I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. It really is. A unique element of a level by any other name. But let's start with the first world, Gangplank Galleon, and the first stage, Pirate Panic, which we briefly talked about last week.
We kind of touched upon this last week, but it was as the introduction to the game. It immediately set a tone, much like Jungle Hijinks did with the original game, and the tone here was. You're not. It's going to be more of, I think, I don't know, more of an adventure into the unknown. That's what I got out of it. It was, you're on this ship, and it's just immediately immersive. We talked a little bit about the sound design, how it starts with just ambient noise, and it kind of fades into the actual music itself. Not fades, but kind of builds to it. Yeah. And
I think that it's like that high seas adventure. It's the untapped potential is what I always felt. Like you're starting off at the far left side of what you discover to be a massive galleon. And it's just the
practical galleon. No galleon like this would ever exist in real life. This is larger than Manhattan.
By the way, as we're discussing the episode, I don't know if you are, but I'm going through the maps on our sister site, DKC Atlas. Find them
sister
at DKC.
Site. That implies we have the same parents. They are our brother from another mother.
Yeah, and they actually get me somewhat sexually aroused, so I'm glad that you made that distinction. But at DKC/Atlas, or I'm sorry, DKC-Atlas.com, you can find these maps that they've created of all the stages from DKC2. They've reproduced them using the original pixel art, and they've got different elements that you can turn on and off. They're phenomenal. But when looking at them in total, as I'm doing right now, you can actually see the entire stage, and this pirate ship makes no sense.
No. And I love it for that reason. I'm Mr. Continuity, I'm Mr. Fanwank, and even I just kind of shrug my shoulders here and be like, it's a big ship.
Yeah.
K. Rool is a ridiculous man.
There are two things that Pirate Panic introduces that are significant. Of course,
alliteration?
One of them... Well, that was introduced in the previous entry into the series, but not only do we get our first animal buddy in Ramby, which sort of introduces very elegantly the concept of the power-up move by way of having... there's not only, I think let's see, is the letter A spelled out? Yeah, but that's in a different spot. You learn the team-up move, you learn how to supercharge Ramby's charge, there's like this arrow of bananas leading you into a bonus room, and then once you get into that bonus room, you're introduced to the new style of bonus game.
Oh, the bonus stages were sublime in this game and its sequel, and I really wish Retro would kind of readjust the way they do the bonuses.
Yeah,
because there's just enough variety that they never get old, and they constantly require more and more strategy the better you get at the game. There's a science behind them here. It's not just throw a bonus stage in here, go through the same repetitive motions, and leave. Yeah.
Well, it's strange because Retro's bonus games do follow several basic templates of design. And so do these, though. There are 3 basic kinds of bonus stages. There are Destroy the Baddies, there's Find the Token, and Collect the Stars.
Yes.
But I think the key difference is that after doing those things, there's always a collectible at the end. There's always that Krem coin. Whereas in Retro's games, the Krem coins, if you will, are sort of taken into the stage itself as a collectible puzzle piece, and then you also have bonus levels on top of that.
Right, so the bonus levels are just kind of a more tedious way of getting this collectible that's already there like 5 other times in the stage.
Yeah, so it's interesting how Donkey Kong Country 2, by being simpler and combining those elements, and not deconstructing them quite so much, it actually, in my opinion, it's the superior way of doing a bonus level for a DKC game.
Yeah, and I don't mean to rag on Retro. Obviously, with Tropical Freeze, we love it, and I like Returns quite a bit too. But this is just fantastic. I never dreaded the bonus stages in this game. It was always like, oh, what do you got for me now? And they kept them fresh, just like the banana.
Yeah. There was one thing that I always like to do in this stage. As soon as you get Ramby, there's the letter A made out of bananas, which effectively teaches you the charge move with Ramby that you would use a little bit later.
We know the banana sprites made that A.
Oh, they did. Those ancient aliens are being very helpful to us. But no, one thing I always like to do when I would play this stage is as soon as I get Ramby, I try and jump on top of the A so that I hit all of the bananas as I'm coming down, and the way that they were animated, they fly up into your banana counter. So I would try and get the bananas to maintain their A shape as they're going up into the counter. I always used to love making those little games for myself that mean nothing in the grand scheme, but they're fun to do.
I'm sure I did the same, in my 6th or 7th playthrough of this game. Eventually, because Elliot and I would play it. We would both get the game and play each other's copies, simultaneously or one after another. So it'd be like I would play the game multiple times on my own cartridge and then multiple times with him. And of course, this is something I played my entire life since then. So. Right. Yeah, I've done the same things. Not quite that one. That's the first I've ever considered that. But yeah, I'll have to give that a shot.
You ought to. You want to check out the next stage then?
Yeah. We already touched upon Pirate Panic enough. I feel like we can safely move on.
Someone averaged it out. If we're going to do these every stage for 2 hours, which we're already well behind schedule, it'd have to be like 3 minutes a stage. So,
well, looks like it's a 6-hour episode then. Good thing I got my coffee here.
Yeah, you might not have been far off on that idea of doing multiple of these parts. So, yeah, anyway, going on to Mainbrace Mayhem.
You want to talk about impractical pirates ships. Holy shit.
Well, actually, you look at Mainbrace Mayhem, and it's only constructed of 2 masts, essentially. Of course,
that are the size of the Sears Tower.
Yes, and the sails wouldn't really unfurl in any kind of reasonable way.
Oh, but God, okay, Pirate Panic for a lot of people, is the iconic stage of Donkey Kong Country 2. For me, as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate Main Brace Mayhem a little bit more. And this has come to kind of define Donkey Kong Country 2 a little bit more for me. And that's because it perfectly captures the combination of David Wise's incredible soundtrack along with the kind of just atmosphere that Greg Mayles and team were so adept at creating. And
it's a simple little melody too, that but it encapsulates everything that there is fun about a pirate adventure.
It's simple, but it's surprisingly deeper the more you get into it. The further it goes along, it kind of has this. It stirs emotions in you, and maybe this is just something you kind of pick up and bring to this game that this music invokes. But for me, it's romantic. It does hint at that high seas adventure, that swashbuckling tale that's about to unfold. And I don't know, it's definitely one of my favorite David Wise tunes.
So, do you have any favorite moments from this stage? Because for me, there's one that stands up beyond all others, and it's something that we used to have back in the first incarnation of DK Vine when we were in high school. There was a video series that I put together called "Completely Pointless and Often Harmful Fun Things to Do."
I'm gonna guess it's the Parade of Neeks.
Yes. There's this succession of Neeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 of them in a row, about a third of the way up the stage. And because this entire stage is climbing, by the way, it introduces verticality to the series for the first time, which is an innovation in and of itself.
It actually kind of brings some of the gameplay of Donkey Kong Jr., the original arcade game, into this. The vertical climbing. You could climb on 2 ropes for the first time. And,
that's right. And there was also we were introduced to vertical climbing in Donkey Kong Land.
Right, but this one actually, it's again, you could climb on 2 ropes. And, and
in that sense, it's a lot closer. And there's a difference in your speed climbing up and down, whether or not you're using 1 or 2 hands.
Right, and also Diddy is a faster climber than Dixie. That is one area where they made Diddy the superior character. So
because
characters are very well balanced.
Yeah, it could have been very easy to make Diddy the bad one, for lack of a better word, but thankfully they avoided that with little tweaks like that.
Yeah.
But this little parade of Neeks, if you roll, one of the things, again, that the SNES series does better than the Wii and Wii U series, the Retro did, is that you not only do you not lose your momentum when rolling through a baddie, it actually increases it, so or at least it increases your velocity. So they created this parade of Neeks, and you start rolling into the first one, and you're like flying through this little section of stage at a lightning speed as you defeat the last one. It's just bum 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 bum. It's so much fun. It just gives you this, like, there's no rumble pack, but you feel a tactile sensation from doing it.
The rumble pack is what I call my genitals when I play this game, Chad.
You must have a very hard time controlling the game.
Well, the Neeks also reveal that you do not get an extra life balloon from hopping on multiple enemies in this game.
That's true, yeah. Although there are some cleverly scattered life balloons throughout. There are invisible hooks that are introduced that you can use to access green balloons. This level also introduces you to all 3 varieties of bonus stage that we touched on earlier, and requires you to climb to execute them.
Yeah, it also introduces clingers, and I think they're one of the most significant additions to the Kremland crew in the game, and that they're not really based on any baddie from the first Donkey Kong Country. They are their own thing. They operate like the Slippas did coming down the ropes in Donkey Kong Land, but far less frustrating. And, of course, they had the very charming sound effect. Whee!
Whee! Which I never knew was whether that was them making the noise or their hands kind of squealing, like a comedy slide whistle. I
think it's them, because there's no real comedy, there's no real jumping noises in this game. There's no things are kind of kept to a more realistic minimum. So there's not really those cartoony sound effects so much in this game.
I'll allow it.
Good.
There was one of the bonus stages, though, also has a neat little tactic. It was that one you may remember where there are 5 clingers lined up.
Cannonball?
And Yeah, well, yes, there's a cannonball, and surrounding there's also a crate and a barrel with a steel rim. And if you know the barrel with a steel rim won't break on a single enemy, you can actually grab it and take it to the left half of the bonus room and throw it at just the perfect time to take out all the clingers in one go. It's, it might save you 3 seconds, but it's another one of those completely pointless fun things to do.
It's also very rewarding for gamers coming back from the first game. It's something that really only they would know at that point. So there you go.
Right.
You can bypass all these clingers if you're a veteran. So
yeah. And speaking of the cannonballs, though, that's a way that you access a bonus stage on here. How do you feel about that?
I loved it, and obviously it was very much linked to this game. It never came back. Well, it didn't come back in the sequel, but no, I thought it was great. I mean, it's ludicrous, I'm going to put this giant lead ball in this cannon and blast off with it, but no, why? What? Is there any controversy about that?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's just a pretty significant department. I'm trying to drum up controversy to get us hits.
Actually, there was a cannon in DKC 3. Brigadier Bazooka fired one off.
That's true. Yeah, using the re-gift that Blue Bear so dickishly gave you.
Right.
Yeah. Blue Bear is the worst brother's bear. There's no right answer who's the best, but Blue Bear is the worst one.
Oh, man. Should we move on to Gangplank Galley then?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Gangplank Galley is most famously known as the green ocean stage, where the sun kind of moves in the sky and the ocean becomes delicious Mountain Dew.
They keep these waters very chlorinated.
No, I mean, as illogical as the color scheme is, it works and it's beautiful. This is gorgeous. This is the stage where if you weren't convinced the graphics were superior to the original, this stage takes you by the throat and says, "Look at me, I'm a pretty girl."
This is the one that, as you're playing through the game, you're looking at the box art, waiting for the game to look like that. That's this stage.
Yeah. This is the stage where I was playing the N64 and I was like, it still doesn't look as good as Donkey Kong Country 2. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love this stage.
Finally got there though with this one. Yeah. There's a really cool. Well, this one, of course, the DK coins, the hero coins. I'm sorry, video game hero coins.
I was about to say, you're fired, Chad. You're off the show.
They're scattered throughout, and they're in somewhat difficult to find places. This stage not only requires you to go left from the entrance to access a bonus stage, but in that same area, it also hides the method of access to the hero coin by way of a hidden hook that necessitates a roll jump. So I think that this level establishes in this game that not only are there hidden things, but there are hidden things in the same place as easier hidden things.
Yeah,
so it's you can't stop looking at the first thing you find.
And this really is, I think, the first hero coin where it's not immediately obvious. They really make you work for it, and
this is stage 3.
Yeah, but the hero coins, we didn't really talk about the hero coins too much, like what they add to the levels. Mm-hmm. And I think the hero coins are genius in that there's just one per stage. It's a big, shiny gold coin that's spinning, and it's purely there for prestige. And
when you collect it, it gives you 2 chimes.
It's
boom, boom.
And I think this is where Donkey Kong 64 kind of failed, because there was no, omni item like this that really felt special. It was just, if that game exists, if hero coins existed in that game, there would be 5 different ones, all different color. The exclusivity of the hero coin and how big and shiny and special it was and how well hidden, it really made you feel accomplished collecting it, and it added just so much more than things like the animal tokens did in the original game.
And to the corollary, I felt that in the Game Boy Advance version, when they introduced the golden feathers, it sort of detracted something from the hero coin. Albeit it was a lot of fun to find a new carefully hidden thing in these stages that I've played over and over again. But it did sort of denigrate the, as you say, the exclusivity, the importance of that hero coin.
Well, and some people first played the GBA DKC2, and so to them that's the way the game was. But in my opinion, that game should only really be played after you've experienced the SNES original, and because this is a perfect game. It's perfect, and
so if you are one of those people, your memories are wrong.
No, they're not. They're not. I do think you should at least try to play the SNES version and kind of forget the GBA game and then play the GBA game and experience it like that. Just if you can, try to delude yourself once in your life, because I think it's the more worthwhile experience. But who am I to say, because I'm just prioritizing my own childhood over yours.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think this is just the perfect item balance in this game. And I think, honestly, when you look at like the Greg Mails team, the DKC team, Banjo-Kazooie team, they never really overindulged in collectibles.
Yeah. So let's move on to Lockjaw's Locker.
Lockjaw's Locker. This is the first underwater stage of the game, and it immediately sets the precedent for what the underwater stages would be compared to the original. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so here you're not going to have any like lazy coral saltwater lakes or whatever. You're not going to have these almost inconsequential underwater stages where there's no bonuses, where it's almost like a break in the action. No, these can be intense, and they're also stages that will take you out of the water just as much as they will underneath it.
Yeah. So this stage actually starts. One thing I love about how these stages are constructed is they all sort of, at least within the trappings of what's essentially a tile-based game, tile-based design,
which is so weird to think about, because
I know,
when you're playing it, you never consider that you're just seeing the repeat. It's the Flintstones effect. They're just repeating the backgrounds, but you never pick up on it because they're so great at hiding it.
But within that context, they make a very sincere attempt, and I would say succeed in many places, to make the levels seem like they're part of the world that you're traversing. And when you start Lockjaw's Locker, you actually drop down the entire length of the stage before even getting to platform, because you're falling into this ship's hold.
Yeah, it should be pointed out, this is a ship's hold, and it's because there's a massive hole in the Gangplank galleon, it's rapidly filling with water, which is just this great... It's a great combination of like world building, but also world building to the benefit of the gameplay.
Yeah, and so you'll tangle with a few enemies that will ultimately become themselves kind of like waterlogged. And there are clomps that are stomping around.
Oh yeah, I like how the first enemies you see are clomps, and that they immediately they're just walking around underwater, because it's not something you would have seen in the original game. It's not something you often see in Mario games or any other platformer, that you have this land-based enemy who's still a danger, but he's kind of rendered more impotent than normal.
Yeah. We're also, of course, given On Guard in this stage. And
On Guard, yeah.
Yeah, and he's also, much like Rambi, given a power-up move holding the A, and that they telegraph that very cleanly. There's a little secretly accessed area that you're led to through an invisible wall that, or through a visible non-wall, I guess.
Yes. Quite a common occurrence in this game. Get used to them.
Right, but this game often would tease those areas by sort of subtly moving the camera so you could just see the edge of a banana and know that there's a little bit more to it. And then once you get there, it tells you exactly how to do your power-up move. There's a banana in the shape of an A. It does a very good job of, without a single word of dialogue or Bottles the Mole popping up to tell you what your controls are, you know exactly what to do. You learn as you play, and that's something that you don't find that much in games these days, which I don't know if that's more to do with the fact that they have a larger opportunity to have a more active teaching approach, or if it's just that that's fallen out of design vogue. But I think it's a really elegant solution.
It does, like, you never feel like your hand is being held. They do kind of throw you in the deep end. They kind of throw you in a ship's hold in this game, but they give you just enough within the context of the game world itself where you're going to learn. And you don't have to be taught anything. Although I will say that the invisible walls and the ship hole levels could be some of the bitchiest ones to find.
Right. There were oftentimes, like, you would wind up halfway through the stage, and then you would see there's a banana coin inside an area that you can't get to, and you have no idea where to backtrack to get to it.
We should also point out some of the new aquatic enemies. Of course, we have Lockjaw, who is the big piranha fish. You have Shuries, the spinning starfish, and you've got Flotsams, who are back, kind of, from Donkey Kong Land, where we were introduced to them through the form of a boss, Wild Sting. Of course, he was Flotsams were originally planned for Donkey Kong Country, which is why Donkey Kong Land got them first.
Yeah, and the Donkey Kong Land team were much bigger police fans than the DKC2 one, so the name had to change. Right.
Anyway, so the music of this is also great. It's more intense than any of the water stages from the past. This is like dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. It's intense. It's driving. You're in for a world of hurt and danger.
Yeah. It's very fast-paced, too. That's what I love about it. It's like, it's like the antithesis of Aquatic Ambiance, which was a very relaxing underwater tune from the first game.
Again, enemy territory, so things are going to be a little bit darker with a little bit more of an edge to them. And when they're not, they have a little bit of melancholy to them, which we'll get to with some of the tunes later in the game. Topsail Trouble?
Well, one last thing I want to mention about this stage is that it also introduces the water rising and falling, which at the very end, as the water's falling and you're playing as on guard, you have to fly across the level as the water's dropping to access the hero coin. Otherwise, it'll fall too far and you'll have no way of getting to it.
It's one I had to play a few times when I initially played the game, because it's something you don't get just right, and you don't realize this is going to be something you need to do until after it's already passed, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So yes, Topsail Trouble is the second rigging stage, and it introduces us at the very outset to a brand new animal buddy.
Rattly, the rattlesnake, who doesn't look anything like a rattlesnake.
That's true, yeah. I guess what would he be more? He could be any number of snakes. There's probably one that matches the exact color pattern, but...
He should have been called Derpy the Derp.
Derpy the Derp? Well, he's certainly a snake.
Okay, well, but he I don't know. He looks like Gomer Pyle.
I do love how this stage now, rain has blown in, and there's actual weather going on, much like the first DKC. It's really cool.
Yeah, but this is also a beautiful example of how they would take the archetype, which they would use about 3 times in this game, but they would change the conditions, they would change the environment just enough where you felt like it was a completely different experience. This does not feel anything like Main Brace Mayhem.
Right, like in the first game, Orangutan Gang feels a lot like Jungle Hijinks in terms of just the whole look of it, but you would find nothing like that in this game. Even just slight palette swaps completely change the tone of any given level.
Yeah, where Main Brace Mayhem was romantic and kind of had this sense of adventure, this is definitely just a sense of menace. Like, we're in for shit now. Like this is getting real, and I don't know. I love it. I love it. This is gorgeous, and the bouncing.
You're introduced to the verticality of that bouncing mechanic. Absolutely.
And it's honestly, it's kind of hard to get the hang of Rattly here, because you've got to not jump into enemies above you. And,
well, we talked about this last week. So, I always found Rattly easier to control as you're moving along, because his hitbox actually follows the area in which he's bouncing, unlike Winky, where you're sort of moving along the floor. But did you you had trouble actually running into baddies?
Just at first. There's a learning curve, and I remember the first time I played this, I lost Rattly, and he ran away. And luckily they don't punish you. You can still get through the stage without Rattly. There's hooks provided, but yeah, if you want to get all the bonuses, all the secrets, you've got to keep rattling to the no animal sign, which was another innovation, I don't know if you want to call it that, for this game, where rather than just keep an animal to the end of the stage, there are certain points where they just disappear because you're not supposed to have them after that point, which allow the levels to be more varied and precise than the original Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, and you would be rewarded with an item that was sometimes fairly crucial to what you wanted to do. Like it might just be as simple as a bunch of bananas, or it could be the cannonball that gives you access to a bonus level,
or it could be a hero coin.
Could be a hero coin.
Yeah.
I think that was finally, it was taking it to its most extreme in one of the last stages of DKC 3, in which Perry the Parallel Bird turned into a bonus stage.
Oh, yeah. That's the one I always think of, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why...
Was it Stampede, something like that?
Which is why Perry is our favorite animal buddy, even over Squitter, yeah.
Because he's dead. He's now a wooden barrel.
Anything you want to add about Topsail Trouble?
I love how the latter half of the stage, once you do lose Ratley, is they've done away with the giant swaths of rigging, and now it's just this very treacherous linear path composed of almost entirely zingers. Like you're constantly under siege by zingers, which at this point, unless you have a throwable item, you can't attack them now that you've gotten rid of Ratley. So
I also think it's really cool they brought zingers back. It's something I don't consider often, but considering that they completely either reskinned the returning Kremlings as pirates, or they just brought in new baddies. Zingers and mini neckies were the only returning animal members of the Kremling crew to come back in this game.
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the boss of Gangplank Galleon, which is Crow.
Crow in Crow's Nest. And Crow, speaking of mini neckies, Crow is a mini necky boss, which is kind of weird, but okay. And he's also dressed like a pirate, so
he's a mini mega necky.
Right.
The neckies themselves didn't make the jump over to Crocodile Isle, unfortunately.
No. But yeah, I guess maybe mini necky is like the famous Robin Williams character Jack, in that he is an adult stuck in a child's body.
I think that should be the official DK Vine stance on the animal mini necky. He's Jack syndrome.
That's reverse Jack, because Jack was a child stuck in an adult's body.
Is that Benjamin Button?
Yeah, I'm thinking Benjamin Button. Sorry.
Okay.
Any chance to reference Jack starring Robin Williams, I'll take it.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg also took that opportunity in The Lost World. Did you know the Jack poster? That's it's like one of those really ham-fisted, like Spielbergian references. It was, as the T-Rex is rampaging through San Diego, there's like a Blockbuster video that has a poster for Jack and the Beanstalk, and it's Robin Williams and.
Oh, okay. Well, I think in the Blu-ray version they replaced that with a walkie-talkie, so it's fine.
Just a poster of a walkie-talkie in Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was their new rental program in 1996.
Actually, they replaced the Blockbuster with a giant walkie-talkie, because what the fuck is a Blockbuster?
It'll probably turn over more profit than the Blockbuster.
So anyway, real quick, yeah, Crow immediately sets the stage for the boss fights being actually worth a damn in this game. No offense to Donkey Kong Country, but the boss fights...
No.
Minus
Offense to Donkey Kong Country.
Minus K. Rool, the boss fights in Donkey Kong Country infamously suck. And very naughty is just you jump on this giant beaver four times or whatever, and you beat him. I mean, there's no strategy involved.
Yes. This one actually introduced more. I think of this style of boss where there's like repeated patterns and different modes to the boss fight, and it evolves over time. To me, that's a 16-bit style boss, and it was strange that Donkey Kong Country itself didn't have that. I mean, maybe that's in my mind just because that's how this game and its sequel were, but I feel like that's... Whereas DKC had like a more NES style boss, DKC 2 really embraced the the style of the time,
Honestly,
or maybe it just is the embodiment. It's the one that created that style. I can't tell anymore.
No, honestly, I think they just were pressed for time with the original game, and bosses weren't given a lot of thought. But I think that's one of the first things they must have set out to do with this game is we've got to make each boss fight unique and challenging and fun. It's already apparent here. You have to hit Crow with the eggs from the nest. And
this would become a theme, but defeating this boss kills him.
We don't know it at the time because he's involuntarily twitching at the end.
Right.
But
I've taken some inspiration there.
Turns out he died, which we'll find out later. In the Game Boy Advance remake, you see his ghost leave his body. But while it's still twitching. But it's the first time you inadvertently straight up kill a boss, or at least canonically depicted on screen. So
also introduces
cool.
not a trope, just the fact that there are 2 hidden banana coins that are invisible until you hit them, hidden in every boss stage in the game.
Yeah, exploration of boss
Kudgel,
stages.
I think.
You call him Kudgel?
Kudgel. Sorry, it's Kudgel.
Yeah, okay.
Except Kudgel. I call him Kugel.
You say Kudgel, I say Kudgel. Okay. Anyway, exploration of boss stages. That is just incredible to me. Like it's still,
and it is frantic the whole time. Like you don't have an opportunity to do it unless you're an extremely skilled player.
But it's been 20 years, and it still amazes me that that's a thing. And maybe because I don't know, the platforming genre has kind of regressed in the wake of New Super Mario Brothers. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just I'm amazed at the leaps this game made over its predecessor. It's just the little things, but they add up. They add up so much.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Crocodile Cauldron now that we've disposed of Crow.
All right, Crow is dead. We're now on the island proper, and I love how the port of call on Crocodile Isle. I guess it's technically Creme Quay, but the way we arrive on the island, it's through Crocodile Cauldron.
Creme what, Hyle? What is Creme what?
20 years ago, I called it Creme Quay, so I'm just being canonically accurate to my mindset at the time. Creme Key, Chad. Creme Key. I'm an American.
I was asking you what you say, I actually called you Kyle on accident. I was like,
that's fine.
Creme what, Kyle?
I deserve it. We're Americans. We spell key here, Key. So, Florida Keys. It's not the Florida Quays.
Although that's a derivative of the term K, which comes from the Bahamas. That's CAY. It's all very confused. There are like 8 different ways to spell what's essentially the same term.
Right. So, I'm sorry that our public education failed me. I'm sorry.
So, Hothead Hop is the first stage in Cauldron Keep.
Okay, here's what I love about Crocodile Cauldron as a whole, but especially Hothead Hop.
Did I say Cauldron Keep? That's from Banjo-Tooie.
Oh my god. Crocodile Cauldron. Yes.
Damn it, Greg Mails and your fucking C and K words.
Crocodile Cauldron, not to be confused with Creme Cauldron for Donkey Kong Land.
Let's not confuse that.
So Crocodile Cauldron and Hothead Hop in particular, since this is our introduction, most platformers, most games of this ilk have a lava stage as the final world. It's a trope established by Mario. And I love how the balls of this game to say, nope, second world, it's our lava hellscape, fuck you.
Get used to it.
Yeah. Even Returns fell into that trope, which, I mean, whatever. But, yeah, I love that you land on this island and immediately you're in this hellish nightmare. It's fantastic.
We're introduced to a number of new baddies in this world. There are clobbers, I think, for the first time.
Clobbers are in on the Gangplank galleon.
Were they?
One.
Oh, you're right. You're right. They are. Yeah, but we've got crockheads and we've got clamp-ons, which we have not seen before. And I always loved the animation cycle on the clamp-ons, which are basically upsized claptraps, but they're brand new models, brand new animation. They're blue and orange, which is this weird color scheme that I always loved. But their animation as they chomp is so smooth. It has a weight to it that you really didn't feel in some of the cycles from the first game.
They're bigger than claptraps, and they felt more dangerous. Like, Espresso's not in the game, but you get the sense that Espresso would not be able to run right over them. And the Crockheads are kind of funny in that they are just crocodiles. Like they are the members of the Kremlings that are just straight up crocodiles.
I would say they look closer to gharials. If you look at how narrow their snout is and how there's a little bulb on the end, to me, I think the Crockheads, if we're gonna call them a more traditional, like non-humanoid crocodile, yeah, they're gharials.
Well, look at the fancy big city lawyer with his book learning.
I've won many a case with my crocodilian knowledge.
Well, technically, they can't just be straight up gharials though, because they are in hot magma, so they must have some evolutionary advantage there.
They're the somehow animated severed heads of gharials.
Many misconceptions of lava are taught to children by the video games that they play. You assume that you can be this close to lava and not just catch on fire, which is what would happen.
Oh yeah, of course. Like you get within like 2 feet of lava and you're going to start lighting a flame.
Yeah. Anyway, this is also the introduction to Squitter.
Hell yeah, dude.
And holy shit, I remember first playing Squitter, and it was just a revelation. And they hide the hero coin right above Squitter's crate, so you're not going to immediately think I'm going to make some webs. I'm going to go as high as I can get. That's not something you immediately think of with Squitter.
No, in fact, there's a collection of bananas that's shaped in a Y to teach you the attack move as soon as you get Squitter, but you wouldn't learn the A, which is the platform move, until a little bit further in the stage.
Oh, I thought that was the female genitalia. Oh, it is a Y. Okay.
No, yeah, it's the male chromosome, female genitalia. It's a very confusing diagram.
But the hero coin's right above him, so that's something you kind of... I don't think many people would get that the first time they play this stage, but as you get more acquainted with Squitter and you go back, it's something that's like, oh, yeah, it's right above here. This game is endlessly replayable, especially when you first start out, because there's so many things and nuances you have to learn as you go. And that's never unfair or frustrating. It's just part of the nature of this game. I would venture to argue the first time you play it as a newbie, you're not supposed to get all the hero coins. You're supposed to go back as you get better and rediscover the stage with fresh eyes.
Yeah, that's the whole point of them telling you on the map screen and on the overworld screen which stages and which worlds you have gotten the bonus stages and the hero coins on, so that you can drill back in there and 100% after the fact. Otherwise,
and honestly, I wish I could tame my OCD for games today to play games like I played this game originally, because I feel like it's a much more rich, rewarding experience than just being a slave to the numbers and being like, oh, I haven't 100% of this stage, I need to keep playing it until I do, you know?
Right. And that's something I went through in Tropical Freeze. I refuse to let myself move on. And you really... That's sort of doing yourself a disservice, I guess, unfortunately, but I'm like you, I can't bring myself around and just play it as a normal person.
Yeah, I think it's just something that comes with age, unfortunately. We're broken irreparably, but...
Yeah, it's like, I know how these games are made, I got this.
Real quick, it should also be pointed out that the backgrounds, the way they have the lava waterfalls just pour down... This is like bright orange on brown, and it's just searing in a lot of ways. But it's
obviously
gorgeous.
they didn't have that like that lighting effect, like a real time kind of glow. But the way that they sort of juxtaposed these palette colors really gives that effect off. It looks like if you took a photo of molten hot magma, everything else, like your iris would automatically shrink down because it's giving off so much light, so everything that's not magma would look darker by comparison. That's sort of the effect that they're giving off.
Yeah, seriously. And, that's the great thing about these games. Really, they look more advanced than they are because they were able to fake shit so well. There's a lot of sleight of hand.
That flowing lava, by the way, is this really cool effect that they did with the lava in Monkey Island, where they sort of just adjust consecutive or adjacent pixels to slowly become the color of their neighbor, and then that cycles after a few frames. So what you wind up with is what looks like this really organic looping texture, like this flowing texture, but it's really you're adjusting the pixel color on the exact same image. It's an ingenious technique that looks a lot more sophisticated than it actually is.
Becoming the color of our neighbor. There's something profound in that statement. And if only we could all become the color of our neighbor.
If only America could be more like the pixels in the background of these levels from 1995.
That is the campaign slogan we need to fight Donald Trump.
Feel the burn in Crocodile Cauldron.
All right. Cannon's claim.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is a stage whose music is one of the first things that leaps to mind. And it was bizarrely left off the official soundtrack release to DKC2.
In at least the cassette. Was it on the CD?
No, it wasn't on either of them.
Okay, because I was always under the impression that it was on the CD and they just had to take it off the cassette. So, okay, I don't feel as bad.
No, I would never have felt comfortable giving it the moniker Mining Melancholy if it had an official name somewhere.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, although in retrospect, there probably could have been better names for that, like Cannon's Choral or CHO.
It's fine. I like Mighty Melancholy is the iconic name at this point. So
yeah. This stage does something that I actually saw Chris Alcock on Twitter tweeted a picture of this moment from the stage saying all bets are off, and he's dead right. There's a bonus stage at the very outset of this level which
to the far right.
Yeah, to the far right that in and of itself is difficult to find, but within that bonus stage hides the hero coin.
Yeah,
they've basically told you can assume nothing about the formula of this game.
Now, it's not as dickish as the bonus stage hidden in the bonus stage in Donkey Kong Country, because seriously, fuck that. But yeah, you're right. This is immediately like, I think this was one of the last hero coins I got.
Really, yeah, it's tough to find because you think you've scoured every inch of the stage, and in fact you have, but what you didn't think is while you're being hurried through this bonus stage with a ticking clock, you never would have thought that there would actually be a hero coin hidden there.
Yeah. Real quick thing I want to touch about the music in the stage itself. This is another, like, Donkey Kong Country famously had tons of mines and scaffolding on mines and mine carts. This is yet another take on the mine concept, but it's done very differently, and it actually breaks the kind of immersive nature of Donkey Kong Country's mines, where it's all atmospheric and kind of, new agey sound effects making up the music. This is like the Mighty Melancholy itself. You've got the pickaxes, but it's a lot more of a driving melody, and there's something beautiful about this stage, but it's also slightly more, just the whole thing is more artificial, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's kind of a difference between this game and the last, in that the environments are a little bit less based in reality.
You mean just in the way that they're constructed? Well, I think a lot of that might be the vertical nature of them. Although, and there would be no reason, of course, in a mine shaft for there to be barrels shooting you around, nor would there be a reason for dragonflies, the flitters in this game, to be hovering everywhere. I mean, that's gameplay, and you sort of accept that. But I think it makes sense for a mine shaft stage to be mostly vertical.
Oh yeah, I do too. I think it's mostly just the music. It's not just the wind and barking dogs. Weirdly enough, it's actually a song with instruments. And, those mining
implements become the percussive tones of the song.
Right. So I'm not saying it completely betrays what Donkey Kong Country does as far as atmosphere. It's just a new take on it. This stage introduces Kannon, obviously, as in the name, which is Clump with a handheld cannon that he fires at you. Yeah. And it also has flitters, and it also introduced me, I think, and this is one of those moments has stuck in my mind. The first time we see TNT barrels in this game, a carryover from the original, but the explosion is different.
Oh yeah, it's a much more. I guess it's a more cartoony explosion, but it feels like it's more robust to me.
It's richer. The colors are richer, and it's. I mean, some people prefer the more bombastic explosions of the original, but it's just one of those things where I prefer the ones from this game because it's just slightly more beautiful. I don't know.
It's a slightly more beautiful destruction.
I'm an American. I like my gunpowder, Chad.
Yeah. They also, when you put the TNT barrels in this game back down on the ground, there's no fuse being set like there was in the previous title.
Right.
They would explode after about a second and a half.
So there's a little bit more leeway there, but this game is hard enough in a lot of areas. Mini neckies. You see them, I think, for the first time, minus Crow. Maybe I'm wrong there, but they're definitely an important part near the end of the stage. And they've got pirate do-rags, which is adorable.
Bandanas, sure, but
I like to call them do-rags. Anyway,
yeah, it's not like they traveled back to the 90s with Janeway and they need to blend in. It's pirate garb.
All right, I got my Doctor Who references. You got your Voyager references. I think we're evenly matched now.
Tuvok, I want you to look like the people who are colored just like you. Chakotay, you're with me. Tom Paris, go find Sarah Silverman. Befriend her, and bet her.
The thing is, that's actual dialogue from a Voyager episode. The show is that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you have to add about?
I got nothing. We're gonna obviously come across future mine stages, so this was just another fantastic one that introduced a lot of. There's a lot of hidden things in this stage that are. The way that the mine stages are constructed, like there's a main path that you go on, and the camera sort of very cleanly confines you to that path. But if you break out of the confines of that path, you can discover a lot of really cool little tableaus, like sections where there will be a square of barrels that'll shoot you around that isn't necessarily necessary, but. Look at me trying to find more words to say the same thing. But it's just a little fun reward that encourages you to explore beyond the confines of the stage's happy path.
Which happy path is also what people call the trail of hair from their belly button to their pubes.
Oh, is it? No. Well, that perfectly describes my feelings toward this game.
Yeah. I have a blast barrel there to deflect people.
So let's move on to Lava Lagoon.
Lava Lagoon, and this is another underwater sunken ship hold, which this isn't the Gangplank galleon, but luckily K-Rool wrecked many pirate ships across Crocodile Isle, so we're able to experience the joy of pirate ships well deep into the game.
Bit of a misnomer, though, the title Lava Lagoon.
It's really just scalding hot water, yeah. But that scalding hot water lagoon doesn't alliterate, so it had to go.
Yeah, so this is the stage that introduces us to Clapper. He has two stages in this game, and in this one, he makes the water traversable. In his next one, he will turn the water into ice so that you can platform on it.
Clapper must give the world's best blowjobs.
I was wondering how long it would take you to just be abjectly offensive.
Takes me to the Lava Lagoon, obviously.
Apparently, yeah, we have our answer.
This is one of the first stages where it's just super tense because you're fighting an invisible clock, and the only way you can tell is the water shifts colors slightly when it's getting hotter, and you have to get out. You have to have an escape plan.
Right, and what I would do, I was so freaked out at the way that the water would kind of, when you're about 5 seconds away from it completely turning, lava red, it would get slightly red, and it would freak me out. So I would, especially in the longer sections, I would obsessively run back to Clapper if I felt like I took too long and hit him again, and hit him again, and hit him again.
I must have hit clapper like 3 or 4 times before hopping into the water, and I mean for no reason. I was just wasting time, but it was more psychologically sound, like to keep hitting that button, you know?
Right. It really is that that security button. It's almost a sociological experiment that they're running via clapper.
The clapper test, yeah, it was infamous. Yeah, the hero coin in particular, I remember, this was another one that took me forever to get to. And that was simply because you had to get the invincibility barrel and swim up.
Invincibility that was terrifying. Oh my
Invincibility
God.
barrels were also a new feature for this game that we haven't mentioned. And I remember playing the original Donkey Kong Country and saying, there's nothing lame like stars in this game that turn you invincible. That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. This game is realistic, man. It's hardcore. It's gritty. And of course, the sequel introduces the invincibility barrels. And then I was like, well, it's a barrel, so it's better.
But what I think the invincibility barrels do a lot in this game that they don't really do in Mario with the Starmen is that I hate that they're called Starmen. By the way, they're just fucking stars with stupid eyes.
Yeah. They don't call the bananas in Mario Kart Banana Men.
I know. Although there's a hyper excessive Mario podcast that's saying, I hate how they call them banana sprites. They're just fucking winged bananas. What's wrong with these people?
Our mortal enemies. I mean, fuck those guys.
Yes, there can be only one unnecessarily obsessive fan community. Anyway, unlike the Mario stars, the barrels here in a lot of places actually allow you to exist in environments that otherwise would kill you. Whereas in Mario, it's primarily like an easy mode power-up.
It's a vacation.
Yeah. Here, it's a means to a much more difficult end.
And it also is psychologically scarring in that you have to use this invincibility barrel, and you basically become invincible. But for how long, I don't know. And you swim through scalding hot water.
Yeah,
and it's just
like you hear that and you're freaking out.
It's contrary to all of your survival skills.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that fight or flight response, and it's telling you get out, but you have to get that hero coin.
And on that last clapper, like the water has turned the reddest of the red, and you should be dead, and yet. And you want to get out of there ASAP.
It's
amazing.
The stage introduces the puffed ups, which
does it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would they would of course come back in Donkey Kong 64, but there were a couple different kinds of puffed ups. They're the puffer fish baddie. Some of them would blow up, and then some of them would just explode.
By blow up you mean the honey I blew up the kid way of things.
Yes, some of them would honey I blew up the kid blow up, and then some of them would Syrian airstrike blow up.
Okay, when I was a kid and I first heard that title of the sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I thought it was going to be a far more grisly and short movie.
Rick Moranis, what are you doing?
So yeah, that's Lava Lagoon.
It is. Let's move on to Red Hot Ride, which is back to the volcano.
Right, and yeah, this one is also it's kind of, I don't know, the logic of this stage. It's a little bit weird in that for some reason
there is none.
For some reason there's balloons, and I guess maybe it's the same balloons you found in Big Ape City and Donkey Kong Land. Mm-hmm. But
well, in the first episode of our Spotlight, we talked about some of the tweets that Greg Mayles had made, and there was one that featured what looked like a hot air balloon in the shape of a banana, and as you collected bananas, it would give you more lift. And I think that ultimately turned into this.
Well, that makes sense. Just one of those like logic gaps that are only filled if you actually worked on the game and you saw the evolution of the idea.
Yeah, I think that might have been like the proto weird blue volcano balloon. But
great band name. Great band name.
It's yours with royalties. There are
Patreon.
Hit us up on Patreon. That's your band. That should be a reward. We'll name your band based on some weird phrase from the DKU.
$500 a month.
There are these pillars of air or steam coming out of the lava. And I thought when I first played this stage back in 95 that those were just environmental steam plumes. I didn't realize that that's actually what you had to stay on top of to lift your balloon back up. So there were sections of this game that I thought were just flat out impossible. Like I hit a brick wall in this stage because I didn't understand that mechanic.
Yeah, actually, I didn't understand it until about halfway through. And it just was by accident, and then I saw the balloon rise whenever I was against the steam, and I was like, oh, that's why we're having so much trouble. Yeah, it's one of those things where maybe Rare wasn't that great at explaining this particular idea, and maybe this is where you would need a Professor Chops to pop out and say, hey.
In fairness, the first few balloons are sitting exactly on top. Well, actually, all of them are sitting on top of these plumes.
Yeah.
It's something that I should have intuited, but
Same
it
here.
was
Same
yeah.
here,
Oh well,
it's
people cite this as one of their least favorite stages quite often, and of course you're grading on a curve because this game is goddamn spectacular. So this is already. It's like a bad DKC2 level is better than a good level in almost any other game. But
Right.
But people, I think one of the reasons, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but one of the reasons is that you're not able to speed through it. It's very plodding because you're beholden to the pace of the balloon, and it sort of completely changes the dynamic of movement. When you press forward, you're actually controlling the balloon some of the time, but and sometimes it's unclear, like when you're on top of Ramby or when you're transitioning to and from a balloon. I never have had that much trouble with actually controlling it. Have you?
This blue balloon does one weird trick. Speedrunners hate them.
Yeah.
No, I never had any trouble, and Ramby is a godsend in this stage. You get Ramby,
well, especially later on because there are zingers that are actually blocking your access to some of the balloons.
Yeah. Well, you've got TNT barrels to help you with that if you somehow lost Ramby, but it's this is just I don't mind how idle the stage is because you're still moving. You're just on a balloon. It's if you like the zippy gameplay, then I could see this stage being particularly frustrating. But I like the variety. It's if the game was full of these, then it'd be an issue. But it's just a one and done. I like how they were able to radically alter the gameplay with so little.
No, I agree there. I also like toward the end of the stage how the difficulty sharply ramps up. I would love to see in the way that in Super Mario Maker, you can see where people have died when you die. It shows like a little X at the bottom of the stage.
Or
where
Doodle Jump.
Doodle Jump does the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to see that. See where people traditionally die as they're playing the stage. Because while it seems like it's a little slowly paced, over time, you get to sections where, without any safety net of any sort, you're having to hop onto 2 and even 3 balloons that are constantly sinking down into the magma, and it gets frenetic. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the difficulty of this stage kind of brings to mind the difficulty of some of the Chimp Cavern stages in Donkey Kong Country. So,
yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a World 6 stage from the original game, here only in the middle of the second world.
Right. So let's. You want to move on to Squawks' Shaft?
Oh, do I? Sexiest stage.
Another mine shaft, another vertical one.
But this is like sprawling. This is like the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson trilogy of mine stages.
Yeah, this is the extended edition, down in Squawks' town.
Yeah, the extended edition, because there is a whole extended section that people can miss. You can fly to the right with Squawks, and the screen actually extends outward.
So that's another thing where they sort of obscure the camera a bit. Yeah, and they did that for the first time in this stage when you actually get Squawks, because it starts as sort of a traditional mining platforming stage, much like Kannon's Klaim, but then once you get Squawks, you are then forced in. You can't back down below that point. So if you missed something, you're sort of screwed. It's
a Retro Studios game, except they didn't explode the mine in a full Michael Bay effect.
That's true, yeah. But yeah, as you said, as you move forward, there are these segments that require you to not trust that the camera is showing you all there is to see, and go off the beaten path a little bit, and you get both a hero coin and a bonus barrel for that.
I would say Squawks justifies the vertical stages, because it's the flying dynamic is so much fun. And it's such a different kind of well, it's not even platforming because there's no platforms, but it's such a different way to play a Donkey Kong Country game versus what we had before.
Yeah, there's one thing that I love about Squawks in this game, that as you tap to, he controls much in the way that the underwater stages do, where you hit the jump button to go up a little bit, and then he keeps sinking down. But you can hit that button like rapid fire over and over as fast as you possibly can. And every time you hit the button, regardless of where his wing flap animation is, you get that flapping noise, that So it's this very it's like an immediate feedback as you tap that button really quickly and hold the up button on the D-pad to go upward. You're hearing the game respond to the precise speed at which you're tapping, and it's just one of those little kind of unnecessary elements that really makes me feel like I'm completely in control of this character, despite the fact that until now I'd never played anything like this.
Yeah. And, I mean, the gameplay, everything about it is just tight, and we've often complained about the floaty style of Mario gameplay, and
I complain about it more in the NES games than Mario World. I think that's a mechanic they really fixed as the series went on.
And then they broke again.
Ba.
Yeah, but I was like, ba, yeah. I think, especially in comparison to a game like DKC 2, where everything is crisp. It is crisp like celery. And Squawks Flying is definitely one of the most sterling examples of that.
Absolutely.
No peanut butter on this.
So, moving on to Cleaver's Kiln.
Cleaver's Kiln. Now, this is the dumb drum of the boss pantheon of Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an inanimate object. There's an inanimate object that tries to kill you in each Donkey Kong Country game, the original 3.
Are you referring to Belcha in the third one?
Of course, Belcha, yeah. So,
Although in this one, there is so Cleaver is a giant sword that has a green glowing thing in his hilt, like a gem that presumably is where his power is contained. But there's also this fiery hand that's reaching up out of the lava to control him in some sections when he's not flying around after you.
But here's the thing. I think the fiery hand is a sleight of hand, because at the final part of the boss fight, the fiery hand goes away and Cleaver is clearly in control of himself. Like, we're not meant to think that I think what's it is, and this is just one of the things where the 16-bit / 32-bit graphics don't really tell the whole story in a transparent enough fashion. I think we're supposed to think that this fire creature is controlling Cleaver, when it turns out Cleaver is in control of himself.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I sort of, in my mind, I retconned that to be kerosene, but I could see either way. It doesn't...
You do what you have to do. I do think that the glowing green hilt, it brings to mind the glowing thing on the tie of Bleak from Donkey Kong Country 3. So my headcanon is that anything blinking on these inanimate objects, it's the Kremling power source bringing these to life.
All right, I can get behind that. It's solid. Looking at this DKC Atlas map, again at dkc-atlas.com.
Dash is important. But when we say dash, we don't mean ISIS. Okay? It's not ISIS.
Yeah, that's DASCHE. There's a whole section to Cleaver's Kiln to the left of the main arena, and I never knew about that, and it doesn't look like there are any items over there. Perhaps
I don't think there's any way to get to it.
Yeah, maybe that's just something that, like, in the process of ripping these world maps, they noticed, but I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, that's the super secret room. That's the sex factory where you can get sex.
You could have gone with a bovine bonus reference, but you went Sex Factory.
No, it's like when you're a kid, you get all these like rumors, like, oh, if you beat Super Mario Brothers like so fast or with so many points, the Nintendo gives you money.
You'll see the princess's boobs.
Yeah, just something ridiculous. So I could see like, yeah, they got some naked ladies over there, like, like swimming in the lava. I don't know.
So do you want to talk about Creme Kui?
Creme Queef? Yes.
Oh, Jesus. Barrel Bayou is the first stage in
Barrel Bayou.
This
Barrel
double-wide map screen.
Yeah. Creedence Clearwater Revival would love this world.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love how it's kind of a natural looking stage, but everything is like all the docks that comprise most of the platforms are covered in green kind of seaweedy grimy stuff. There's cattails,
mossy stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's grimy. It's like the swamp has just claiming any sort of structure they attempt to put over it, and you've got all these like kegs just like floating there for effect, and it's definitely like. It's definitely like it helps sell Crocodile Isle because this is the first non-lava like land in Crocodile Isle you're on, and it's just overgrown, and clearly there's just a lack of harmony between it and its inhabitants, and it's dangerous as a result. And this is also the first time you've got water in a Donkey Kong Country stage that will kill you if you fall into it.
That's true. We also see. Wait, no, that's not true.
No, that's not true.
Because the pirate ship.
Yeah. Never mind.
And also very, very nicely, when you do die in that fashion, or the enemies for that matter, a big splash comes up from the bottom of the screen.
That is a satisfying splash.
Yeah. We're also meeting cloaks for the first time, which are the ghost baddies that go wah, 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 and throw stuff at you.
This is a weird enemy if you don't really know the evolution. I guess they had the pirate coat for the crooks that we meet later, and they were like, well, we need a baddie that's a ghost. What if we just take these coats, recolor them, and make them fly? And you're like, okay.
Yeah, sure. That would ultimately pay off in dividends when it came to Grab by the Ghoulies.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so these are listed as Kremlings in the like baddie roster. So, but they're just eyes in a coat. So.
Yeah. So inside that coat, presumably, is a very spooky crocodile ghost.
I presume these are the ghosts of crooks. I don't know.
Sure,
but
they shrink in their deceased age.
Right. But yeah, and cloaks actually provide strategy too. It's not just an enemy you have to avoid. They will throw useful things from time to time.
I think there's a section in this stage actually where it might be a later one, but there's a point at which a cloak he'll throw you an item, and then if you follow, and then he moves back to the left, and if you follow him quite a distance, he'll throw you a treasure chest that you can break open for a 2-up, but then you can go back, break it open, collect the 2-up, and he'll continue that cycle. He returns to where he once was if you don't destroy him. So there's a way to grind for infinite lives in one of these stages.
I think that it might be Gloomy Gulch. I can't remember, but
yeah.
I do know here you've got the cannonball. He'll throw a treasure chest with a cannonball, and you have to backtrack to the cannon.
Okay. There was also one where... Oh, no, that's not this stage. This is the one where Rambi turns into a cannonball.
Oh, okay.
Right? No?
I don't know. It's hard because it all kind of blends together in your memory.
Oh, no, I think you might be... Yeah, you might be right. Rambi turns into something good, though, because you do have Rambi on this stage, but unlike the previous ones, Rambi's almost a hindrance. So that's a new kind of dynamic for the animal buddies, where...
Keeping the animal buddies with you... Even if they muck up your progress, because the survival of the animal buddies is a lot more, there's a lot more strategy and importance to the end game than there ever was in the original, where you just wanted to keep them because they were cool.
Right, you're actually rewarded for having done so. This is the bayous in this stage make relative sense. They're more or less on a flat plane. There will be some coming up in this world in Krem Key where they kind of hop up and down in like it's a what do they call? Is it called a lock? Like in Panama, where the Pacific and the Atlantic meet, but they're at completely different levels. So it's almost like they've got several chambered locks inside. Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
In Panama?
The Chamber of Locks was my lost fan fiction, so...
Yeah. It's you're just describing the hatch.
Should we move on to Glimmer's galleon?
Please, let's.
So this is the Torchlight Trouble of the game. It's we discussed this when discussing Glimmer last episode, because how could you not? And it's just all in an underwater ship hold that's almost pitch black. In remakes, it wasn't pitch black at all, making Glimmer irrelevant. But here, you really needed Glimmer to progress. Luckily, he just swims out of nowhere to scare the ever-loving shit out of you.
I think that moment where Glimmer first appears is on. Isn't that on our very first inaugural top 10 Fearbringers?
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a stage that one infamous thing that you don't immediately know about are the 4 hidden chambers right above you, chamber of locks, where you get like the hero coin and a bonus stage and some banana coins and some bananas. It's all through the invisible walls that you can swim through.
Yeah, and there's a bonus stage up there as well. It's yet another example of their. This is probably where it takes it to the most extreme, but you find a bonus section, and there's not only more to explore, there's more to explore beyond that, and then there's more to explore beyond that, and you're doing all of this in near darkness.
And this is, the ship holds are a great example of how Rare tweak each archetype. So you'd have the inaugural one, which is just played straight for the most part. Then you would, make some element of that dangerous or change the environment to the point. You had Lava Lagoon where the water itself was dangerous, and then you made it so you couldn't see your surroundings.
Right.
Just that sleight of hand again. It's fantastic how they did that.
Yeah, there were also some of the bonus stages in this level. One of them is like a labyrinth that you only have 35 seconds to get through, and it's pitch black with the addition of Glimmer, but it's just sort of this maze of underwater ship hold crates and barrels and kegs, and you've got to navigate that with the ticking clock in the darkness. And there was one other one that was like that in the light, and it was a much more complicated section. But yeah, they did some really great work with making those bonus stages, despite the fact that they had one of 3 modes and a collectible at the end. They all gave you a sort of unique challenge.
Yeah. This is probably one of my least favorite stages, just because
really?
It's just it's more of a traditional underwater stage. You're only on land at the very end when you blast up out of and it's such a breath of fresh air when you get out of Glimmer's galleon.
And that's really just so you could jump on the end of level target.
Right. But there's just all the puffed up exploding and stuff being flung at you. It's a difficult stage.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one I don't revisit unless I have to.
It's also, even the stage itself does have kind of those maze-like sections where you feel like, because the game established previously that there are lots of underwater ship hold walls that are not actually walls, you find yourself I would always just hug the perimeter and trace the outline of the stage just in case I'm missing something, which it sort of ruins the flow of playing the stage if you find yourself doing that.
It does, and it's just not much fun when you have to resort to that.
Yeah. Donkey Kong Country 2, not much fun. Hyle Russell.
It'll be on my tombstone should I die tomorrow.
Let's move on to Crockhead Clamber.
Crockhead Clamber, yeah. This is...
Sorry, Glimmer. That's it.
yeah, you're done. See you on the box art for Donkey Kong Land 2, you fuck.
An amazing go left at the start section in this level.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the first, I think, of that ilk. And those zingers, man, it's imposing.
Yeah, it gives you... There's a treasure chest that... You have to make your way to the treasure chest using a team-up move. That you're given a DK barrel at the start of the stage, but you have to use that team-up move to sort of throw your partner up and over, not horizontally.
Do-si-do.
Up and over these giant columns of zingers to access this treasure chest, and only then can you start to hit the zingers with the chest. But unlike previous treasure chests, it requires multiple hits to actually open. And isn't that what gives you your hero coin?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I like to imagine those treasure chests are like Russian nesting dolls. They're just a slightly smaller treasure chest in your floor.
It's like paper thin.
Yeah. I remember seeing those zingers though, and trying to team throw Dixie over, like in between them, like up and over in between them.
You have to. It's really hard.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, fuck you, game. Really?
Also, it requires a roll jump. There's a section where you have to roll under some zingers and jump out and over in midair. It's an expert level section in the third world of the game.
Yeah. The bulk of this level, though, it's again Crockheads, as the name suggests, but also the cattails. So there's a constant like back and forth between cattails, then flitters, and then Crockheads. And the Crockheads would go up and like under the water, so you'd have to time it just right. And I mean, it's a little bit more simple than some of the other stages they did, but it's definitely fun.
So, at the risk of being a tonal hypocrite, I have a brief anecdote about the cattails. So, I was 10 years old when I first played this game. I had not yet become acquainted with masturbation. And the friend's house at which I was playing, he had an older sister, a couple years our senior. And as we were playing on these cattails, climbing up and down them, she started cracking up, and we didn't know what was funny about this. So she said, go up and down those cattails again, do it again. And so we would just like climb Diddy and Dixie up and down the cattails, essentially jacking off these cattails, and she was cracking up. And that was one of my first exposures to the concept of masturbation.
You disgust me.
There go our listeners. You've done it again, McCanna.
God, everything's vile out of your mouth.
Obsessed with plant self-pleasure.
Okay, well,
anyway,
I don't really have anything to say about Crockhead Clamber. But Rattle Battle.
Well, hang on. There is one bonus level where they give you access to Squitter and just immediately take him away from you.
Yeah. It's always disappointing when that happens because you're like, yeah, Squitter. Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, going on to Rattle Battle.
So yeah, this is one of the ones where you just kind of have to shrug and accept the recoloring of a archetype. So yeah, you've got what's supposed to be the ocean and other stages here recolored to resemble a swamp. But it's the most illogical swamp in the world. It just looks like green ocean, but whatever.
Yeah. There's also a bonus stage that takes place in a rigging archetype that's been kind of color graded. It's been palette swapped to have that same sort of swampy feel to it.
Well, it's the green skies of Crocodile Isle. That's
right.
Whatever. But this is Rattle Battle. It's really Rattly's time to shine, and you have to transform into him. And the music is also one of people's favorites. It's a remix of the Gangplank Galleon theme.
Well, it's where our show derives its theme.
What?
Yeah. Of course, the Kongversation theme is exactly what you're listening to with your... Are you putting music behind this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're listening to it with your ear holes right now. This is... Yeah, it's it
So
takes
that's
the whole...
why I want to rape Diddy and Dixie right now. Okay. I was
Is
wondering
no
where
one
that
gonna
urge.
stop you?
I was wondering where that urge was coming from.
Yeah. No, it's like taking an established, more moody theme and just David Wise is saying, let's have fun with it. Let's just go balls to the wall with this.
And I like, this game has this reputation for being all dark and gloomy, and it's not really, because you have these breaks. You have these tonal breaks where it's like, all right, let's just cut loose.
Yeah. There's
Wine
some
coolers
really
on me. Yeah.
There's some really difficult platforming sections, though, in this stage that require you to sort of, as you said, this is where you really run into that difficulty with Rattle, where you can accidentally jump into people from below. And they even set up some sections, especially getting the hero coin on this stage, where you have to kind of do Rattle's version of a roll jump and jump out into an uncertain future over the ledge and then hit the jump button to get out from under bad guys. It's extremely difficult.
Well, it's a tricky thing to learn or even think exist,
Yeah.
It's no different than a roll jump, but it just slightly, you don't really understand how it works, but whatever. Also, it should be pointed out, this is really the kaboing stage just as much as Rattle, because they litter this with kaboings, which are the critters that are, clomps that have spring-loaded peg legs.
Yeah.
So.
What a concept. They're sort of like the anti-Rattle as far as baddies go, so it's cool that they populated them in this stage, and they're a lot more difficult than you might otherwise assume. I would find myself a lot of the time jumping at the same time as them and just jumping smack dab into them.
And then, of course, there's that infamous part with the cannon where you have to time your jumps with its barrels that's firing out of the cannon.
There would be a section way later in the game that really requires that of you. It was mostly optional at this point, but that was really great. So anything else to mention about Rattle Battle?
No, it's a lot of people's favorites. It's always been middle of the road for me, but I like it because it's Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's move. It won't be the last that we've seen of Rattle on a pirate ship archetype in this stage. In fact, we're coming right up to another with Slime Climb.
Slime Climb, yeah. This is the last rigging stage of the game, minus the creepy crow fight, I guess. And this is also a source of terror for a lot of people, in that this is kind of much in the same way Lava Lagoon, it's a race against the clock. This is a race against a piranha. And I guess is the ship supposed to be sinking? Is that what is technically going on, or is the water just rising for some reason?
Okay, so I never realized that the ship was supposed to be sinking until I was reading some of those tweets, the hashtag DKC2is20 tweets that Greg Mayles was posting, and in his he had one that was sort of a concept brainstorming document for this exact stage, and it said that the ship was sinking.
Okay, so that makes sense. It's not something that's really can be conveyed with the SNES graphics, but it makes more sense than just water illogically rising several hundred stories.
Yeah, we're also introduced to Snapjaw, who's a palette swap of Lockjaw with some crazy new animation.
Yeah, a cocaine-fueled Snapjaw, or Lockjaw, basically. That's what Snapjaw is. His mouth gets extraordinarily wide, and it's essentially just a crazy new animation to show how tough they are. Right.
The first time that you accidentally drop, because one cool thing about this stage is that there are trigger points that make the water rise, but there are also points where the water kind of settles. So you can catch your breath a little bit, and on that very initial one where the water hasn't started rising yet, you think, oh, no big deal, I'll go for a swim. I've avoided these things before. It looks like a lockjaw. And as soon as he first snaps your ass and you fall off the bottom of the screen, you're freaking out at that animation, which it seems completely unexpected.
Yeah. Speaking of invincibility barrels, there's also a segment where they require you to swim with the Snapjaw and an invincibility barrel, and it's the same amount of tear. Like the invincibility barrels do not give you much confidence in this game because they're there to put you into even more terrifying scenarios.
They're just stressful.
Yeah, because the hero coin is actually hidden. Well, not even hidden. It's in plain sight, but it's right underneath the end of level target. But to get to
it's infuriatingly hidden. It's one of the it taunts you if you hadn't got it before.
Yeah. So, but it's right there with the snapjaw. So you have to swim with the snapjaw to get to it, and the only way to do that without getting snapjawed is to get the invincibility barrel.
Yeah. There's also a bonus barrel elsewhere in this stage that requires you to get an invincibility barrel that's very cleverly hidden behind a cannon. And then you have to follow a trail of bananas, again, back down through Snapjaw. But this time, you're swimming down through a section that before was just this open void that you would never access.
Yeah. But by the way, the sky of this stage,
pea soup?
If I woke up in the morning and I saw the sky was this color, I would just naturally assume it was the end of days and we had fallen into some sort of cosmic vortex.
Oh yeah, Johnny Applewhite was right. So, Slime Climb was great. It was really stressful. I think it's more successful than Toxic Tower, which comes a little bit later. I think that maybe Toxic Tower... No, actually I'll disagree there with myself. No, because Toxic Tower, I think that it had... We'll talk about it later, but it gave you some hints in the background, the artwork, as to how far away the actual sludge is as it's coming up the screen. So, maybe that one was actually a more finely tuned, constantly rising stage. I take back my half statement.
Okay, I was going to say the sludge does kill you instantly, so there might be a little bit more strategy involved with Slime Climb, but...
Oh, that's true. Yeah, did you ever do that where you would fall into the water, but Snapjaw didn't get you, and then you come out going...
Oh yeah, because there are points, because it's a vertical stage, so there are points where you might fall, and you fall into the water inadvertently, and you it's a race against time. Like, you only have a matter of seconds, if not fractions of seconds, to get to a rope or get to the next high platform,
Yeah, so let's move on to the first Bramble stage, and I hope you enjoy the music.
We just won't talk. Let's just let them listen to music for 2 minutes while we go take a smoke break. The Bramble stages, I think, probably have become the most iconic. I mean, outside the pirate ship stages, but the Bramble stages are what people unanimously love, and the music is probably the big reason for that. Let's be honest, but
it was revealed that this was initially meant to be the music for the underwater stages of this game, but then they sort of changed those to be a little bit more menacing in nature, so it didn't quite fit.
Yeah. Now, I would actually argue that it's the music in harmony with the actual aesthetics, because there is just something so serene about the way the Bramble stages actually look, with the blue sky and wispy clouds scrolling behind them. It's beautiful, but it's also just, again, it's completely absurd if you really look at it. That it's just a bunch of giant thorn bushes strung together, and that's all these levels are,
Yeah, it's you're beset on all sides by things that will kill you, and there are only very few, in this stage especially, very few little platforms that you can actually walk on. One at the beginning, one at the end, and that's about it, really.
But when I was talking about the music having a certain melancholy in this game, I was specifically thinking about this track, because it's kind of like the whole thorn of a rose type thing, where this is a beautiful stage, but it's also very, very deadly, and the music kind of has this kind of haunting beauty to it, where it's gorgeous, but it's kind of sad at the same time. So I think everything just combines to make the Bramble stages honestly some of the most mature of any cartoon platformer game, just in the emotions it invokes.
Yeah, I agree. Did you find this stage to be more difficult than the later Bramble Scramble? Because in a way I do, although that one is a notoriously difficult stage.
I think this is more difficult. This is more of a maze than anything.
Totally.
I don't think you get yourself killed quite as often as you do in Bramble Scramble, but we've never really had a maze in a Donkey Kong Country game before. So
yeah, it's much easier to overlook the bonuses in this one.
Yeah, figuring out how the blast barrels work, and it takes some time, you really do have to learn and study the mechanics. If you didn't really pay attention to how blast barrels work before this stage, you would know after this stage.
This is one also where I find myself getting too fast for my own good, and like, oh, I know where it's gonna point, and sometimes I'll try and anticipate the direction the barrel will be facing immediately upon taking me into it. And sometimes that's the direction it's facing out of the box, and sometimes it takes a split second and moves it really quickly. So if you go too fast, you can fuck yourself up, unless you know, of course, as a speedrunner, exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, this is why I spent 40 minutes in foreplay, because this stage, it taught me to take my time, study my surroundings, know what I'm about to dive into.
Dive, quite literally sometimes. There's one section on this stage where you get a little taste of the hero coin if you navigate up into an area that there's no other reason for but to, blast into another direction from the barrel, but the camera sort of moves just so you can see it sort of, clipping into the frame. And then you have no way of getting it unless you, again, go way off the beaten path. You have to follow a trail of bananas speculatively into a barrel that kind of blasts you into what's a pretty substantial bonus section of the stage where you get to play as Squawks.
And this
or you get to ride Squawks.
This is the first introduction of Squawks and Brambles, which would become the kind of a defining characteristic of Squawks in this game. And this is
I think
a little bit...
every other Bramble stage has Squawks in it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
all
Bramble
of
Scramble
them do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and until you learn that you can safely rest upon the bottom of the Brambles, Squawks and Brambles is terrifying.
Yeah, because you're not sure if you can. And in this stage, I think it actually hurts you. But in Bramble Scramble, it's okay to rest your character on the bottom.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah. In Bramble Scramble, I know that you can. It's strange. I don't know why it's allowed, but you can sort of let him sink all the way to the bottom and then breeze through some of those sections where you're constantly shooting at zingers, flitters, and cloaks. Yeah.
Maybe they just did it to give gamers a break. I don't know, but
perhaps it was like play tested, into existence, because they just said this is too much. Much.
Mm. Oh well, do you want to talk about Kudgel?
I would love to talk about Kudgel.
Kudgel.
Yeah.
Which Kudgel. That's what they used in Something About Mary. There's your semen.
God.
So Kudgel is a recolored clubba, essentially. Mm-hmm. But we later discovered, as we talked 2 episodes ago, that clubba was originally going to be the final boss fight of the game. So I think they repurposed that into this.
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of prefer this. K. Rool's second fight wasn't all that difficult, but this is certainly easier than that. This is it feels correct to be in this game the third world boss. Yeah, and I like that this I like that we're able to fight some version of clubba without it actually being clubba. So we've always fan-wanked that Kudgel is his twin brother who died at the event after the events of this game, and that's why he's not in Donkey Kong Land 2. Mm-hmm. Well, he does. We do see his body in the background once you defeat him. It goes meow, splash. Yeah, so maybe he was eaten by the aforementioned Snapjaws, or perhaps those little red sharks. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, there's really not much to this. He shakes TNT barrels loose from the trees because for some reason... That's what he does. For some reason, there's TNT barrels in the trees, and
really, that's his first mistake.
Yeah.
But he jumps around, and you can't be on the ground when he shakes it, or else you'll be temporarily paralyzed.
He does these kind of ballerina moves, or at least that's how I always thought of them. These his big jumps. I thought they were ballet things.
Yeah, maybe he took ballet for agility, like a lot of tough guys do. I don't know. He is what he is. He's a recolored clubber, and I like him, but I will fully admit that it's kind of lame.
Well, we'll talk more about getting to fight Clubber himself when we discuss The Lost World.
Okay, fair enough. Shall we go on the Krazy Kremland chat?
Let's do it. This is the world from which we now get the inspiration for our new website theme.
Hey, yes.
So now that we're talking about a theme park, let's go into a beehive.
Let's go into now. Zingers are people confuse this. Zingers are their own species. They are wasp-like creatures that make honey.
Hornet-like, yeah. I guess a hornet is a kind of wasp. Yeah.
So they're this hornet wasp honey bee hybrid.
Yeah.
And, whatever. This is like. People talk about Donkey Kong Country games aren't innovative. Like they just do what Mario games did. Well, I've never seen Mario in a beehive sticking to the walls. I'm sorry. This is completely unique.
Yeah, this is, and the fact that they had, I still don't know how they did it, but there's this effect of honey dripping down in the foreground that sort of it slimes down. Like whatever the giant sprite is, it distorts constantly, and there's no FX chip in the SNES for this game or in the cartridge.
Right, I actually looked it up. It turns out there was actually no honey effect added. That was just us slobbering over our TVs and thinking it was honey.
Okay, did you know gaming? Thanks a lot for that one.
No, I mean, and this is like this is a healthy mixture too of vertical gameplay with the traditional horizontal platforming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was also yet another example of go to the left at the beginning, but also go to the left twice because there are 2 bonus stages.
Yeah, and this was also you go to the left, but then as you ascended, you would have to go to the left just as normal gameplay. Or was that this stage or another stage?
I think it's... I didn't quite follow what you said, but I think it's this one. I don't know what you were describing.
Yeah, because as you ascend, you actually have to go left as your primary... I mean, there's other stages in like the rigging stages you have to do that, but the whole going to the left thing, it's not something that's done very much in platformers. I mean, Donkey Kong Country really, I think... said, why do we always have to go left to right? I like that it thought outside the box, even to that simple, small degree.
Yeah. The fact, by the way, that you also sort of, there's honey that covers vertical surfaces, and you have to jump, attach yourself to it, and then jump out and back over to it, and out and back over to kind of ascend these columns of honey that are sheeting down the side of the honeycomb. There's some delightful little animation moments where, like, Dixie will eat the honey, but what it really does from a gameplay point of view is it opens up the stage without it vertically and horizontally, it like completely blows open the stage construction without having to lean too heavily on an animal buddy.
Although Squitter is in the stage.
Squitter is in the stage, but like at the halfway mark, and then of course, because he creates platforms, it then blasts the doors off the stage.
Oh my god, there's just so many ways to interact with this stage and to platform, and it's I don't know, so deep. It's I don't know. It's blowing my mind thinking about it because I've never actually looked at it the way we're looking at it now and realizing how much is actually going on in fucking Hornet Hole.
Yeah, it's a massive stage. It's incredibly impressive. I think everyone, as you're listening to this, if you can, go to dkc-atlas.com and take a look. It's beyond impressive what the DKC2 team actually did, considering it was 95 that they made this game.
This is like insane. Platforming in an Escher painting.
Yeah, but it like when you look at it zoomed out, you know, you can marvel at the construction of it, but when you're actually playing it and the screen is just on a small subset of the whole, it does feel like you're navigating through this endless maze of a beehive. You know, it doesn't feel constructed artificially. It feels like it was like this haphazard organic insect growth, you know?
Right. Yeah. So, I think we should move on though to I guess the most famous part of Krazy Kremland.
Yeah.
Target Terror. Now, the thing I like about this is the minecarts were even a year out from the original game. They were already one of the most iconic elements of the original game, even though they were just swiped from Temple of Doom, but whatever. So, but instead of just saying, well, we'll just put minecarts in again, the kids love them.
They were popular.
They said, no, we'll have like an on-rail cart section, but let's change up what it actually is to make it thematically appropriate for the world. Mm-hmm. This is something that Retro hasn't quite gotten right, in that they cram minecarts into the most weird places, like an underwater lost civilization. Yeah, but it's a roller coaster, and considering this game stars two tweens or whatever you want to call them, I think it's very apropos. It suits them.
Yeah, and they started off pretty slowly. There are three roller coaster stages, two of them that actually take place in a theme park, but this stage gives you a little bit of time to kind of get used to this new mechanic if you were new to Donkey Kong Country as a concept. It's the one that has the green check mark and red X stages, or barrels rather, that will open and close these gates. Later on, they would be used in Haunted Hall to actually set off this timer. Or no, those are plus and minus barrels, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they would essentially have the same. They had the same effect, just reskinned in different ways.
Right. So yeah, it was really nice. It was really frantic but manageable if you were kind of new to it. It let you really drink in the fireworks going off in the background, the carnival happening, and it let you feel like you're still in control of what's going on in the foreground.
And it also just pointed out what shitty people the Kremlings could be, that this is actually an active theme park with massive gaping holes in the roller coaster. It's just that sense of this is the dump, and we don't care about safety standards, and I just a great bit of world building along with the very cool platforming.
Yeah, there are also what appear to be cutlasses that are called clanks. They're the Kremlings that are riding in other skull carts.
Yes.
And in the next stage, in Rickety Race, or the next roller coaster stage, you'll actually race these guys. But in this one, they're just sort of there to give you a hard time, give you an obstacle. Some of them throw stuff over their shoulder at you.
A lot more effective than the crashes of Donkey Kong Country, in that they didn't interact with you in any way except where there was something to jump over. I
think there was one moment in a later stage in DKC where there's a crash sitting in a mine cart, and you have to jump on his head to kill him and then get in the mine cart itself. But that's before anything's even moving, so it's really just there's really no point to it. That doesn't count. They were fucking dicks about where they put the hero coin in this stage. Do you remember that?
No.
It's hiding behind so there's this scaffolding from the roller coaster. It's one of those wooden coasters, the old school style ones that I very rarely go on. I prefer a good metal construction with welding and bolts and stuff. But there are these little wooden huts, I guess. I don't know, just these lean-tos that are jutting up, and they hid the hero coin behind one of them, and you can only see in its animation cycle there are a few frames that show a few golden pixels.
Right.
And that's the only way you would know to jump and grab it.
Yep, I remember now. Oh, yeah.
It's infuriating if you miss it, but no, It's a fantastic stage. They also did a cool thing with the bonus stages, which is established in this one, in that when you roller coaster into a bonus level, you will then roller coaster back out of it. You know, it continues you moving through the stage, despite the fact that you've just gone to what's essentially another screen and another section of game.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought about that. There's always that continuity there. It never breaks the flow.
Yeah, and even later on in Haunted Hall, there's one where it needs the player to back out of the bonus level to go into another one, so the bonus stage itself is constructed to facilitate that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Well, let's get to Bramble Scramble.
Let us, because that's my favorite Bramble stage. By the way, in Target Terror, there's a bonus level that is a Bramble stage. So it's cool that they're even playing with the archetypes a little in what's surrounding geographically that one stage.
Donkey Kong landed that, but to much less great effect because they just bounced you all over the fucking place. You could be in a city bonus stage in like Kremlantis. It was kind of haphazard. But yeah, Bramble Scramble might be what a lot of people consider to be the defining stage of the game. A lot of people's favorite stage because it is a platforming master class.
Yeah, it's got those moments. It has very close to the outset. Well, of course, this one starts you going left. It does feature a go right at the beginning moment where you're able to pick up the K. It like immediately flips everything on its head. And as you progress through, there's very early on, there's a secret invincibility barrel that is required for you to access a bonus stage. And once you get it, again, unlike Mario, you're then compelled to platform on top of the brambles that would previously kill you.
Yes. What I remember about Bramble Scramble is, unlike Bramble Blast, this actually let you drink in the aesthetic, the environment, and the music. And this is really where I fell in love with the Brambles. And yes, this was like one of the hardest stages of the game, especially at this point. Yeah. But I never felt like I was frustrated or defeated by it. I just kept, like, if this was an arcade, I would have keep putting in quarters trying to beat this stage because it was addicting as hell.
Well, they do some great things. They give you access pretty early on to Squawks, and this is really a Squawks stage. And Squawks has an attack, and that makes all the difference in the world when you're trying, when everything around you is treacherous, when there are enemies everywhere, when the borders of the screen will hurt you. You need the ability to clear a path. And the fact that they did that, it makes you feel like, despite the treachery and despite the dangerous nature of everything that surrounds you, you have some control over your environment, and that's really crucial in my mind to making a stage that's not only challenging but fun and makes you want to keep coming back.
Absolutely, yeah. And the fact that, like, there's zingers there, I like how they have cannons perched on like little wooden planks in little tangles of bramble. You know, it's cool that I don't know how they got up there, but they're there, and
it's a living.
But it's cool how you don't really know what you're going to encounter. You can't grow complacent. It's not just flying enemies here. There's all sorts of stuff happening. Mm-hmm. And Squitter's kind of hidden in this stage as well.
It took me a long time to find Squitter. So there's a section, it's one of those non-walls, and there's a single banana that's taunting you, saying, jump through this wall of brambles. Come on, it won't hurt, it'll be okay. And in fact, it's just fine. But then you've also got to do some crazy roll jump shenanigans and ultimately get to Squitter. But then for Squitter to even mean anything, you have to, again, trust the bananas and move through a wall of brambles to access not only a hero coin, but if you want to get it, a blue balloon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the blue balloons are always very, very dangerous to nab in any of the Donkey Kong Country games. But yeah, this one in particular, you very rarely saw a blue balloon.
Yeah,
and so you know maybe you shouldn't, but you're too tempted. It's
right.
Ultimately, it's just 3 lives, but yeah, it's blue and shiny, and
Yeah, you can't. It's very, very hard to pass up the opportunity for one of those. But yeah, I feel like they did a really good job of holding those cards pretty close to their vest, and it makes the reward that much greater when you do actually get one. Sometimes when I'm playing like the first DKC, I'm almost like pissed off when I get those animal tokens, despite the fact that it could potentially give me 7 lives, just because I feel like it's not really, I didn't risk anything. Sometimes I was forced to get this token, so the reward's kind of meaningless. It's just something you stumble into.
Yes.
Here you don't have that issue.
No, not at all. But yeah, Bramble Scramble, I feel like there's really not much to say because we've spent so many years talking about the beauty of Bramble Scramble, and now that we actually have to talk about it, it's like, well, everything's been said about this stage.
Yeah, well, I like the sections. They have these little looping areas where there are sometimes red zingers. As you progress, I mean, I waxed on at length about how great it is that you have attacks with Squawks and you can destroy all these enemies. You can't touch red zingers. And as you get through Bramble Scramble, there are more and more and more of them. And they sort of, just like the Brambles, they define the parameters through which you can move. They define the borders of the stage. But there are these cool little sections where they're moving in circles, and you have to kind of become part of their endless procession of red zingers and follow them around to continue up. Lots of just really clever little moments in this stage. Really fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is the fine. I'm weary to say, but I think it's the best stage of the game. And
really.
I don't know though, because there's so many good stages to come after this that it's like choosing your favorite child, and I know people do that because people are shitty, but I am human too. I am fallible. I think this is my favorite stage.
Really? Wow. Okay. Well, if there is another one, I won't fault you for jumping the gun, but this is up there for me. But all of them, you know, there are some that I would say would not be in the running to be my favorite, but almost all of them bring something unique to the table that I can really respect that works for that stage. So I understand what you say when it's really hard to pick one.
I mean, my favorite stage in my favorite game of all time, so it's not like I really dislike any of the stages. Even something like Glimmer's Galleon that I don't particularly like to replay, I still really like the stage itself.
Right. So, continuing on through the carnival, through this bizarre...
Back to the amusement park, yes.
Yeah. Let's go to Rickety Race, which is... So this is the one I mentioned where the clanks, which are the Kremlings in opposing roller coasters, they are actually racing you, and you don't know it at first, but you actually you're incentivized to blast this game through the stage as quickly as possible.
I think this is also one of the first stages in a DKC game to really where like the traditional platforming takes a back seat to some other task like a race, and DKC 3 utilized this quite a bit. But where you had this ulterior motive besides actually just getting to the end of the stage. And here it was getting to first place to get the hero coin.
Right. And there was... Did you know about the sort of, again, the go left at the beginning tactic with this, where when you first start... Yeah. Shamefully,
I had to read the player's guide for this. This is one of the last ones I got, because I had no idea you could go backwards.
Yeah, so what you do when you first get into the skull cart, a little a stoplight comes down and says, red, green, and there's a clank right in front of you. He starts moving, you start moving, but if you hold left, your cart actually turns backwards. Diddy turns around, Diddy and Dixie, they look behind you, which is a great little thing that I love how they added that little bit of animation. There's one of the green plus barrels from Target Terror, and that super launches you forward.
You want to talk about Target Terror? Try shopping there at Black Friday.
Newspapers. So
Yeah.
This one, if you do get that plus barrel, to this day, I have a lot of trouble with this stage because the pace is intense.
Oh yeah. Even if you get that plus barrel, you're still playing catch up. You are playing catch up because you went backwards initially. It'll give you that boost, but it takes a while to overcome these guys.
Right.
And it's something that I don't nail to this day. Like I am very good at this game, but I do not nail this. Usually my first playthrough, I have to repeat the stage, and sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, there are even these little exclamation mark signposts right before a big gap after you've had, a somewhat long stretch of track. And by somewhat long, I mean in excess of 2 seconds of track. Mm-hmm. And those will sort of tell you with enough advance notice, hey, you should probably prepare to start jumping. But sometimes I hit jump as soon as I see them rather than just get myself alerted, and that can fuck you up.
See, I always thought those signs just meant I had gotten all the secrets up until that portion of the track.
It's all of a sudden this part of the level becomes really enthusiastic. No, and then much like that previous underwater stage, the Glimmer's galleon, it dumps you out of the cart and into another little platforming section to hit the target at the end of the stage. Yes.
Yeah. And I obviously like there were secrets hidden near the end because of course there were, because there's a vast middle section of mostly cart based racing, not in the go-kart sense, but roller coaster cart. And I think I found this secret at the end by myself, and the hooks or no, is there a bonus stage near the end, or am I not thinking right?
I don't remember if it's near the end or not. I think there's just like 1 or 2 bonus stages in this game.
There's one at the beginning. There's one at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's the only bonus stage in this game because they really or in this level because they didn't want to. Yeah, no kidding. They didn't want to break up the flow of the race itself.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, that was when I found myself, and it was the plus barrel behind the cart that gave me like a world of trouble. But yes, this was a fun stage. It was unique.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk Mudhole Marsh. Speaking of unique, a carnival world with a swamp in it. What are you talking about?
This is actually one of the least unique stages of the game in that it's really like the swamp aesthetic. They found the least to do with that. I feel like.
Yeah, it seems like the one feature in this stage is the cat o' nine tails. They're really introduced here. If they did appear previously, they really weren't used to their fullest. This one, it requires a lot more enemy hop and bop. There are these salvos of mini neckies that will barrage you, but then as you progress onward through the stage, you find a lot more of the cat o' nine tails, which they kind of always frustrated me as a baddie, because once you get inside their tails, sometimes it's even required, especially if you only have either Diddy or Dixie and you can't do the power-up mode, because they'll fling you up high, but I think the direction that they fling you is completely random.
I think you can aim a little bit as you get flung, but it's very imprecise. It's very imprecise.
Like once you're out of their tail, you can sort of direct yourself, but that initial direction, I mean, like if there's a zinger at 3 o'clock, or I guess at like 1 o'clock, and you want to go to 11 o'clock for a bonus barrel, you have no control over that, really.
No, it's true. Yeah, there's really only one direction they're going to send you, and that's not the one with Zane, unfortunately.
This level, I know there's not too much to say about it, but it did feature one of those nightmares of a hero coin at the very end target.
This is what I remember Mudhole Marsh for. The bitch hole of... I call it bitch hole marsh because of the hero coin at the end. And they have the hero coin as a prize on the end of level target.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time they give you, like, a major prize like that that's not just, something more disposable like a banana coin or a balloon.
Yeah, but here's the rub though. You think, oh, no big deal. If I miss it, I'll just I'll die and I'll go back to the you beat the level. Your continue barrel is void.
Yep. Yeah.
So if you fuck it up at the end and you because you have to bounce off of a barrel shot by a cannon.
So if you're not thinking, you just defeat that cannon. Oh, shit out of luck.
Yeah, there's a hook kind of conspicuously placed right in front of him that's to aid you in jumping over him. But there's really no way that you would know what that's for until you get past him already.
And this is kind of a tedious level to replay, what with all the mini neckies, and it's not hard, but it's challenging enough, and it feels long. So, and you could just fuck it up completely again when you get to the end. So there's a little bit of a dispiriting effect. It feels good when you finally get it, but yeah, once you realize with horror that you have to replay the stage again and again and again until you get this bit of precise jumping just right. Oh, man.
There was one little glitch that I used to do on this stage. It's not really a glitch because it uses a cheat code to activate it, but if there's a cheat code, barrel axe, BA right, A left, AX, and if you enter that, it takes away all the DK barrels in the game. In this stage, there is one of the treasure chests, and you break it open, and it gives you a DK barrel. But if you do it with that cheat on, it's possible to make Diddy or Dixie pick up an invisible barrel, because it triggers it, but then the cheat code removes it, like in 0 frames. So the game thinks you have it, but nothing is displayed. So it's funny because, on the sprite, of course, they didn't put whatever's behind the barrel, so it looks like their left arm is chopped off. But then sometimes, and it's inconsistent, sometimes when you throw that invisible barrel, nothing happens. But sometimes when you throw it, it causes whatever enemy is in line with you horizontally on the screen to, be blasted off the right side of the stage. Like the barrel turns into a giant air cannon and just blows them away. It's very weird, and I've done it inconsistently in the past, but I remember this stage, because of that treasure chest that gives you a DK barrel, was the one in which you could activate it.
See, I only played with those codes maybe once, because for me, this game is such a perfected work of art that I feel like it's putting a mustache on a Mona Lisa.
I could see that, but but I think the closer analogy would be if Leonardo da Vinci created a transparent sheet of plastic with a mustache on it that you could overlay on top of the Mona Lisa at will.
For Movember, of course.
For Movember. The Louvre just puts that down for the month of November and raises tons of money for cancer research.
Yeah, Da Vinci just really cared about his prostate. And
that's right.
No,
but since they actually put these cheat codes in as a secret optional thing, I don't feel like I'm defacing the game by playing with them.
No. I don't either. But I just always felt like, for the reality of the game, if you want to call it that, I much prefer just to play it straight.
Oh, certainly, of course. I'm just after I would play it straight, I would see what's the deal with these cheat codes.
See, after I played it straight, I would want to play it again and again and again and again. So I never really found the opportunity to grow bored with it enough to deface it with its own cheat codes.
It wasn't boredom, Hyle. Don't put words in my mouth. It was curiosity.
Okay. Yeah, we all experiment in junior high. I know how it goes.
I learned how to do it with cattails.
Oh, all right. Well, we should talk about Ramby Rumble, I guess.
Yeah, we should. This is a fun one.
This is a sleight of hand in that you think it's going to be one thing, and it is halfway through, and then it becomes something completely different.
Right. Yeah, it turns into a Monty Python's Flying Circus episode.
It turns into an episode of Benny Hill. It's just a wacky chase.
And you're listening to Yakety Sax right now.
So, Yeah,
there are also some. They really make use of the crazy nature of climbing up the walls on honey. Ramby Rumble, by the way, is a beehive stage, a zinger hive. There are some sections where you have to jump out even further than jumping back in to get on the honey, and it makes it really kind of almost pixel perfect the way that you have to do those moves. And it reminds me a lot of what you would eventually have to do in Banjo-Kazooie to climb up things like Shark Food Island. That spire, how you have to jump out and then back in but also up at the same time.
Well, technically you never actually got to do that until the XBLA version.
Okay,
if you did it right.
All right. Well, there's a segment of Click Clock Wood where you have to do exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Anyway, it's like that, and there's a part in Gruntilda's Lair when you're getting to the Rusty Bucket Bay painting and blah 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 blah. But anyway, it's like those sections just in 2D platformer form. Yeah, but then of course let's talk about the main event, getting to Ramby. Which, by the way, if you go straight to Ramby, you already done fucked up because you can't get the hero coin.
Yep. That's actually a clever bit. So there's a interior cabin in the beehive, kind of like in Rattle Battle. Sorry, I was going to Rattly Battly. And the only thing is, in this one, you can actually go over it with Diddy and Dixie and get the hero coin. You just can't progress past those because they put a strategically placed zinger, so you can't get further into the level and actually play it with Diddy and Dixie. And it'd be impossible to play it very far with Diddy and Dixie anyway. But
actually, you know what? I haven't tried this, but can you do it? Can you sacrifice either Diddy or Dixie?
I don't think the camera will move past that zinger.
Okay, that's something I might have to try if once I get around to twitching this.
I'm pretty sure I've already tried it.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure that Greg Males would have outthought that scenario.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the camera just won't budge. So the hero coin is up on some sticky honey that you have to get with Diddy and Dixie. But
it's another one of those that will taunt you because as you're playing with Ramby, he can't stick to the walls, and so you may not even realize you needed to get it until it's too late.
Yes, but inside the Ramby room, you transform into Ramby. The animal transformation barrels, by the way, you never really understood the purpose until you thought about them, but it's basically to give you... It's for areas that have to be done with a particular animal buddy versus somewhat optional to complete.
Because if you were just riding on Ramby's back, if it was just a crate, there are sections that require you to use zingers as platforms effectively, and there'd be no way to do that as Diddy and Dixie.
Right. And I feel like the later Country game, well, I guess Country 3, and then maybe I know Land 2 and Land 3, but they went overboard with the animal barrels, and they kind of phased out the crates for the most part, except for a couple areas.
Yeah, and that was I feel like that's kind of unfortunate. And it's in a way, it's, I don't want to call it lazy level design, but it's certainly a rejection of the established parameters. It's kind of saying, well, we don't really want to work within this world. We're going to kind of do our own thing, but it's Donkey Kong Country, but then it's a new game, so you want to give them freedom to do that. So it's it's a balance, and I prefer just visually the look of the Kongs riding on the animal buddies, but as you say, I understand the function. I just wish DKC3 was more of an even mix.
There is a good balance in this game of the two, that it never felt like, well, where are the crates? I missed the crates. I want to ride on Ellie. I don't want to just become Ellie again. Anyway, so you turn into Ramby, and then you just think, okay, I'm just playing as Ramby, not realizing that the whole basic ground is about to shift out from underneath you, because at that point you're scaling downwards. It's a horizontal stage that you have to go back down the Zinger Hive. Right. And you keep going down and down, and then all of a sudden there's the boss of the world. The boss of the world makes an appearance in a normal platforming stage. And basically then it becomes a mad, insane chase to the boss fight itself.
And in case you had any misconceptions about what's going on when confronted with this giant zinger who's, 5 times as big as your character, the music changes, and there's a giant arrow constructed of bananas, thank you banana sprites, that tells you, go! For the love of God, run!
This game really liked to terrify you with with mad dashes, with death approaching. No wonder this is the team that invented the Reaper from Ghoulies.
Yeah. It's funny. This moment really should have been on our first Fearbringers list instead of Glimmer's Galleon. I don't know why it wasn't.
I don't know either. I think it was the more hipster thing to say, oh, Glimmer was scary, derm.
Hipster? Wow. We were really getting early on that trend, weren't we?
Yeah, I said Glimmer was scary before anybody else did. Just back when it was an obscure animal buddy nobody had ever heard of.
It still is. There's also, speaking of wanting to continue through the stage as quickly as possible, at the very end, there's a collapsible wall that leads to a bonus stage that requires you to stop running from King Zing, charge up your move, and then rampage into the wall. So you have to have the balls, the temerity, the wherewithal to pause while you're being pursued by a giant wasp. It's a very easy bonus level to miss, because if you're just running at breakneck speed, you want to get out of there as quickly as possible.
And back before my OCD completely took control of my body and mind, I would say, nope, I'll save that for later. I'm more than happy just to get the heck out of this stage and put some daylight between me and King Zing. I'll come back later when I'm feeling more brave.
Right.
So that was another great joy of being a little bit more carefree in those days, in that, yeah, we'll do it later. Fine, whatever.
So speaking of putting some more daylight between you and King Zing, hey, King Zing Sting.
King Zing Sting. So yeah, after you escape from King Zing, you have to go into his chamber, his throne, if you will.
I will.
This is kind of another first in this series, in that this is the first time you play as an animal buddy fighting a boss.
Mm-hmm. Right. And also, if you're playing the game, before you go into Squawks' barrel, jump. You'll get 2 bonus coin or 2 banana coins, and you'll be happy for it. Yeah, this was a great one. You compare this with the Queen Bee fight from DKC, the first DKC, and there's just no comparison. This one has so much more to it. The only vulnerable spot on King Zing is his stinger, and it's very difficult. The hitbox is tiny, and he moves in an increasing speed, so you have to actually get kind of up and under him without him running into you, so that you can fire an egg to hit that stinger. It's really difficult, but really rewarding when you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, then it kind of goes gonzo near the end, because King Zing turns into little zingers. I don't really understand still to this day what's going on there, but okay.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a matter of picking off the zingers who fly in different patterns, and it becomes almost a, I don't know, more of reflexes than anything, and memorization of how they're going to swarm.
Do you have any headcanon, or I guess what's the official DK Vine stance on what the hell is happening in this moment?
If we weren't more than 2 hours into this episode, I'm sure I could regale you with a tale. As of now, I'm feeling pretty on empty, so I'm just gonna say, no, magic.
Taj did it.
No.
I have some extra bees for you. You won't meet me for several years.
No. It was just a Kremlin curse.
Can I impede your progress further?
Any thoughts on King Zing?
Nah, I like him. He's good.
Yeah, it's a good fight. Now,
I like that it continues the kind of the not the saga of the zingers. That's what I was about to come out of my mouth, and that's stupid. But it continues the idea there's a male and a female monarch of the zingers themselves, and sort of in a way that might be why there are no zingers in DKC 3. It's like they were sort of done away with, and it's like when you kill the queen ant or the queen bee, the rest of the hive dies, and perhaps there were just a few hangers-on in the Payon games.
And Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah. But like they're nowhere near the numbers that they would be at in this and in the first game. So that's my own little headcanon.
Well, there's Zinger Highs in Donkey Konga too.
Yeah, but still.
Okay. Well, now we said this before we go on to Gloomy Gulch. We said this was going to be our final episode. Now, last year in our trilogy of Spotlight episodes, originally that was going to be a duology. A two-parter of Spotlight episodes for Donkey Kong Country. But we had so much to say, it turned into a three-parter. This being what we consider to be the greatest game of all time, I think we're going to have to pull a similar stunt. It turns out we're probably going to have to make this 4 parts.
Yeah, so we'll end this with another round of listener calls and memories. We'll open the floor for those again next week, so feel free to get them in. But yeah, tune in next week for the Alien Resurrection of Donkey Kong Country 2 Spotlight episodes.
You know, the 4th one is always the best one. Just science.
Yeah, the 4th one's the one where they go to space, or in our case, into a mechanical dirigible.
Yeah, and Winona Ryder's going to show up too.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic. Let's hear what our listeners had to say about the game.
I hope Winona Ryder called.
Hey Chad, hey Hyle. This is Banjo Mac off the forums. I just wanted to drop you guys a little memory I had about Donkey Kong Country 2. I really love the soundtrack. David Wise is a master of ambiance and setting up that seafaring pirate theme, especially at the beginning, and really kind of setting up that just perfect nautical feeling throughout the game. So anyway, I love what you guys do at the show and look forward to hearing more. Right? Take it easy.
Hey, DK9. So, final thoughts on DKC2. Well, it's just perfect. It's a perfect game in 1995 terms. There is nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it in the terms of the technology it was on. The only things that could be improved about it would require it to be made later or be on more advanced technology. For an SNES game, it is perfect. Could not be better. And that's all I have to say about DKZ2. I love it. It's a fantastic game. Bye.
Right, so Donkey Kong Country 2. Pretty much all of our favorite games of all time. I was born in 97, so I missed the SNES era. I even missed the N64 era in my household, at least. My older brother first got a PS2, and he played that all the time, and eventually, he wouldn't let me play it, so eventually my dad gave in and got me a Game Boy Advance and Super Mario Brothers 3, the remake. And, I was content with that. Mario 3, great game, fun start. But eventually I went to Walmart and we went down to the game section, and I remember I saw the screen in the Game Boy Advance display. It was Main Brace Mayhem right at the area. Diddy was hanging on to the ropes right next to the K right at the beginning of the level. And I looked at it and I was like, this can't be real. This isn't what these games on this system look like. I was used to great graphics because the PlayStation 2, like I mentioned, but I was like, Mario 3 looks like a cartoon. This looks like the PlayStation 2 almost. And I remember playing it and I was like, wow. And so me and my older brother both got a copy because he had a Game Boy too, because he didn't have a Game Boy. And it was just so, it was sensory overload for me. It was the music, it was the graphics, it was the huge worlds, all the collectibles, And of course, I was a kid, and we had one of those little cheat booklets, and the GBA had all the sheets, so we entered those all. My favorite of which, of course, was the jukebox. I remember jumping on the bed listening to, what was it, the Kong College theme. I really liked that one at the time, but, you know, Disco Train, Forest Interlude, Sticker Bush Symphony, of course, or is it Sticker Brush? I always forget. It was, so I can't even form a sentence and just, God, Donkey Kong Country 2, man. Even the, in most ways, inferior Game Boy Advance port, you know, the sound gets a bit of a downgrade. There's cool minigames and stuff, so that's nice. Cool minigames. What else? There's story elements added. You know, more of a definite story. You don't have to read the instruction manuals, which was good because I was the type to throw all that shit away immediately because I was, 5? I'm probably doing that math completely wrong, but whatever. Oh, what a game. Masterpiece. I almost said bad. Even the port that wasn't as good as the original. And I didn't even realize there was a Donkey Kong Country 3 or even 1. 2 could stand alone as just its own.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.